All right, let's talk about the invisible engine that powers pretty much all of modern logistics. It's called SAP Extended Warehouse Management, or EWM for short. And you know what? It's basically the digital brain that makes sure your online orders get to you with what feels like magic. Okay, so here's the game plan for this explainer. First, we're going to tackle the huge challenges modern warehouses are up against. Then, we'll decode what SAP EWM actually is. After that, we'll get a look inside a smart warehouse, check out the kinds of careers this stuff opens up, and finally peek into the automated future. So, first things first, why are we even talking about this? Why is warehouse management suddenly one of the most critical parts of the entire global economy? Let's set the stage. I mean, really think about it. You click buy now, and almost instantly, this incredibly complex ballet of picking, packing, and shipping just kicks off. How in the world is that even possible on such a massive scale? Well, the secret isn't just people working hard, it's incredibly smart technology working behind the scenes. And this whole logistical miracle is happening because of a few major trends. First, the e-commerce sector has absolutely exploded, right? We all expect things fast and we expect them to be accurate. To keep up, businesses have to digitize their operations. They need to know exactly what they have in stock in real time, and their planning has to be super efficient. The old ways of doing things, they just can't handle this new reality. And that brings us to the hero of our story, SAP EWM. Now, I know, the name sounds a bit technical, but stick with me. We're about to break it all down and show you what makes this system so darn powerful. So, at its heart, SAP EWM is the master control system for everything that happens inside a warehouse. Think of it like an air traffic controller. From the second a product arrives to the moment it ships out, EWM is tracking, managing, and directing the entire flow. It makes sure every single item is exactly where it's supposed to be, exactly when it's supposed to be there. Now, you might be thinking, wait, didn't SAP already have a system for this? And you'd be right. It was called WM. But you have to understand, EWM isn't just a simple upgrade. It's a totally different beast. WM handled the basics, but EWM is built for today's crazy complex world. Here's a perfect example. The old WM system could tell you an item was in, say, aisle 5. But EWM, it can calculate the most efficient path for a worker to grab that item plus 3 others, shaving seconds off every single order. In a huge warehouse, that adds up to a massive, massive gain in efficiency. That's the difference right there. And when I say it's a different beast, I mean it has some serious superpowers. You've got slotting, which figures out the absolute best place to store an item. Deconsolidation for breaking down big shipments. My personal favorite, cross-docking, which lets you move goods straight from a delivery truck to a shipping truck, completely bypassing storage. It also has labor management, yard management to organize the chaos of trucks outside, and it all runs on a framework for mobile devices, so workers get instructions in real time. Okay, so with a system this smart, you can imagine the physical warehouse itself has to be incredibly organized, right? Let's take a look at how it all fits together. In the EWM world, everything is organized with almost military precision. The easiest way to think about it is like a giant library. The whole building gets a warehouse number. Inside, you have different storage types, kind of like the fiction and nonfiction sections. Within those areas, you have storage sections, which are like the individual aisles. And finally, you have the storage bin, the exact spot on the shelf where the product lives. And dotted throughout this perfectly structured space are work centers. These are the action hubs where the real work gets done. You know, dedicated stations for packing, for quality checks, for breaking down shipments. EWM is constantly managing the flow of products between the storage bins and these work centers, creating this really smooth, seamless rhythm. So we've got this amazing technology that huge companies all over the world are adopting. What does that mean for you? Well, it means opportunity. Big time. And just look at the kinds of jobs that are out there. Sure, you have your highly skilled functional consultants who design and build these systems. But what's really cool is, because the demand is growing so fast, there are also a ton of entry-level or fresher jobs for people who just finished their training and are ready to get started. Now, you might see a number like 3.25% and think, that's not much, but you gotta remember, the global market for business software is massive. So 3.25% is actually a huge slice of the pie. We're talking about thousands of companies and a constant ongoing need for pros who can make these systems work. And here's the key thing to remember. Because this stuff is so critical to a company's bottom line, employers do not mess around. They are actively looking for people with official training and certification because they need to know their warehouse is going to run like a well-oiled machine. All right, let's bring it all home. We'll wrap this up with the most important takeaways and a quick look at what this all means for the future. So to recap, the boom in e-commerce demands smarter, faster warehouses. SAP EWM is the powerful, flexible brain that makes it all possible, and it's way more advanced than the older systems. And because of all that, learning EWM can be your ticket to a fantastic career in a field that is just taking off. And that leaves us with one final big question to think about. We've seen how EWM optimizes everything, but what happens as it gets integrated with more and more robotics and AI? How will it fundamentally change the jobs that people do inside these giant facilities? What does the future of human work even look like when the warehouse itself is calling the shots?